Yeah, your Bibles with you. Please turn to 2 Kings chapter 5. That's 2 Kings chapter 5. As we continue in our series about addressing the messes or address the mess in our lives. You know, there are times in our lives where, whether we want to admit it or not, we know in a given circumstance or situation, we are absolutely, positively, 100% wrong. Even though sometimes we feel like we are justified and think we are 100% right. I can remember one of the multiple times I got in trouble as a kid. The punishment for my crime was that for the next 2 weeks I was responsible for trash duty and dog duty, if you know what I mean outside. And so me, thinking that the crime did not fit, or the punishment did not fit the crime, I tried to bargain my way out of the punishment. And the person that had set this law down was both mom and dad. So, being the, shrewd as a serpent, right? What does a child try and do? Divide and conquer. And so I went over to my mom and I gave mom the spiel about, I really am sorry, I didn't mean to do it, and I just think that this punishment is just a little bit too harsh. What about simply, cleaning the room, for the next 2 weeks, since that's not nasty, smelly, trash and, dogs. And so Mom went and talked to Dad, and before I knew it, Dad had no idea that I had gone to Mom. Well, now he did. And so he came back to me and he said, I just want you to know that I understand that you went and talked to Mom without coming to me first. And I said, that would be correct, because you just bought yourself 3 weeks of trash duty and dog duty. And I said, well, that's not fair. And he looked at me and he goes, son, the quicker you learn this lesson, the quicker you'll stay out of trouble, is that when the punishment is handed down, that you just take the punishment, because guess what? You committed the crime. And the criminal does not get to determine the punishment of the crime. And isn't it interesting that that's kind of how we operate a lot of times, that when we know we've done something wrong, and we know that there's a punishment, or we know that there's a solution to the problem that we face with people, or just within family, or maybe even with God. There's a solution to the problem. What we want to do is we like to bargain our way into a resolution. We like to bargain our way out of a negative consequence. And so in 2 Kings chapter 5, what we find is that very example. And what's interesting about 2 Kings chapter 5 is that it displays something about the people of God and how they're supposed to handle people that are absolutely, positively, 100% sick. See, my father understood that in order for me to understand the lesson, in order for me to grow as a person, there's a certain way that he had to handle me, that he might not handle my brother in the same way. And so what question we want to answer tonight is, what is the role of God's people when they encounter a mess? What is the person's role who's the helper in conjunction with God's supposed to do when they come across a leper? Regardless of what the leper might think, regardless of what the sick person might think, what is the role of the helper? What God is going to lay out for 2 Kings chapter 5 is that God's helpers seek lepers. That God's helpers seek lepers. And so we probably have heard of this story before, but I think there are some very key points that we need to take into consideration with our own lives and also with people that we come in contact with. And so in 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1, it says, Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and in high favor, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. So we have this mighty man, this man of stature, this servant of the king who had won a battle by the Lord's favor. And notice where that takes place. That's in the land of Syria. And so as a Jewish reader, this kind of perks your ears up, because the relationship between Syria and Israel, as history will show, was not exactly honky-dory. It was more like Hatfield-McCoy. It was more like bitter rivals rather than great friends. And so we see that God works a victory through this man for Syria. And he had one blemish, and that was the fact that he was a leper, which in that day and age was really a death sentence. That day and age would get you marked by every person in every town, in every city that you would ever come across. And in the kingdom of Israel, what that required is that required the leper to go outside of the gates until they were healed. No guarantee that they would be healed, but that's what they were required to do. And I can imagine the same thing was the case in Syria. And so this is a dire situation that a person who is not in a relationship with God at this point is in. And so notice what takes place. It says, now the Syrians, on one of their raids, had carried off a little girl from the land of Israel. And she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. And so Naaman had a servant girl that was from Israel. Now this is going to be important later down in the chapter. She said to her mistress, would that my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, which is the capital of Israel at this point. And so what this raises is the fact that even the lady, Naaman's wife, knew of a prophet in Israel. And maybe she's the only one that knows of this prophet, but she knows that there is something special about this prophet, and she knows, and the inference here is that she knows that if her husband comes in contact with the person of God, something will change in his life, that his leprosy could potentially be cured. That's not a bad reputation to have in Old Testament Israel, especially in dealing with Syria. That's not a bad reputation to have in the 21st century. That you and I be known as people that when people who are a mess and when people who are sick come into our lives, present themselves to us, our first inclination is to run to that person, to help that person, and that reputation be spread around people that we know, and even people we don't know. And what would the impact be if people knew about this congregation in the community? That, hey, when sick people walk through that door, there's a place of refuge, there's a place of security, there's a place of comfort, and most importantly, that's a place where they can be healed of their ultimate sickness. See, Naaman's wife knew that about the prophet who was in Samaria. And so in verse 4, so Naaman went and told his Lord thus, and so spoke the girl from the land of Israel. The king of Syria said, go down, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. That is uncommon, that an enemy would send a letter to an enemy, asking this enemy for help. But isn't it interesting that when a person of God is involved, enemies can reconcile? Isn't it interesting that on the basis of one sick person, it might get two people together who don't necessarily see eye to eye for the benefit of that one person? And isn't that our call, and isn't that our charge in 21st century? That just because you and I might not see eye to eye on everything, because we share a commonality in Christ, that is the overriding factor that goes into healing and dealing with sick people. I find it interesting that this is one of the few times the king of Syria has any positive communication with the king of Israel. And so he went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothes. He was ready for a long journey. He was in it for the long haul, because guess what? When you're sick, you will do anything to be healed. Even if it's traveled down to that nasty place called Israel. For the sake and the hope that you might be healed. That this leprosy might be taken away. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, when this letter reaches you, know that I have sent you Naaman my servant, that you may cure him of his leprosy. And notice the reaction of the king of Israel. And when the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to kill and make alive this man who sends word to me to cure a man his leprosy? Only consider and see how he is seeking to quarrel with me." What's the reaction of the king of Israel? This king isn't serious. He really doesn't want me to cure this guy. This is just one big setup so that we might have a political disunity, so that we might fight. Notice what the king of Israel did to the king of Syria. He made an assumption about the king and about the man named Naaman, which wasn't necessarily true. He made a judgment call in which he did not have enough evidence to make. Sometimes we fall into that trap that because a person is sick spiritually, that somehow that gives us right to make an assumption about them that might not necessarily be true. Is it possible, did the king of Israel ever take into account that maybe, just maybe, the king of Syria and this man Naaman were genuine about their request? The king also discounts the fact that there's a prophet. Notice the king doesn't say anything about, okay, well, hey, send him to Elisha. Notice the king doesn't say, maybe we can use this situation, maybe we can use this circumstance not to divide ourselves from Syria, but strengthen that relationship with Syria. Maybe we can use this situation, maybe we can use this circumstance, maybe we can use this sick guy from Syria to turn Syria towards God. Maybe that's solid application for today. Maybe when we come in contact with sick people, maybe we can use that circumstance and that situation with that sick person, not just to turn the sick person, but to turn an entire group, community, nation of people towards God. But in order to do that, I can't make an assumption, I can't make a judgment without that. And that's exactly what he does. But notice, there's one man in the land that reminds the king. Verse 8. But, here's the king's M.O. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that's a sign of him being upset, him being distressed. He said to the king, saying, "Why have you torn your clothes?" What's the purpose of you tearing your clothes? Have you not forgotten who is in the land and who is over the land? Have we not forgotten who we are and who's over us and who's our king and what our role is in this life? And Elijah said, "Let him come now to me, that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel." Notice Elijah's motivation. That as a helper, as God's helper, he's seeking out the leper so that the leper might know that there's a prophet of God in Israel. His M.O. is not later in the chapter as the unruly servants is, as the greedy servants is. His motivation isn't what he can gain from the situation. His motivation isn't the acclaim that he can get from the situation. His goal, Elisha's goal in this situation, is not to prop up Elisha, but to prop up God. And so he says, my goal in this is to turn this man into Naaman so that he might know. And that should be our motivation. A church can have program after program after program after program, but if it's just to prop up the church, it's ill-advised, ill-timed, and will not satisfy the ears and the heart of God. Can't do it and won't do it. And so anytime we take on a program, quote-unquote, a program, or anytime we seek to do something here, what is the main motivation for the program that's here? What's the main motivation for the people who ask for these things to be done? What is our motivation? If our motivation is simply to say, look at what Gastonia Church of Christ did and put it in the newspaper and not convert anybody, but just for the number, then we have missed the mark. And what we're going to find out here in a little bit is that Naaman himself has missed the mark. Elijah is on point, and Naaman has missed the mark. And Elijah's the only way that Elijah can do this is because he has a heart for God. That notice what Elijah doesn't say. I'll heal Naaman if X. Send Naaman to me if he's able to denounce his role in the Syrian army. Send Naaman to me if he'll pay me this sum of money. No, he just says, send him to me so that he might know that there is a prophet, there is a God in Israel. And so notice what takes place next in verse 9. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elijah's house. And Elijah sent a messenger to him, saying, Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean. Guaranteed. Take it to the bank. I'm a prophet of Israel. I speak on the mouthpiece of God, on the microphone of God, and what I say comes from God, and you can take it to the bank that Naaman, if you go wash in this river, you dip yourself 7 times, you will be clean. Hard to argue with that. Especially when you've been a leper for who knows how many years. I mean, this should be music to Naaman's ears. There should be rejoicing in his heart. There should be a peace in his spirit. And he should come to the realization that there is a prophet and God in Israel. If only the text read that. But notice what Naaman says. But Naaman was angry. How can he be angry? He's got leprosy. He's got a cure. It's like going to the doctor and having a disease and the doctor says, hey, if you take this or if you do this, you'll be healed. And you throw up your hands and be like, I'm not satisfied with that. I'm mad at that. I mean, I've got a cold and I don't know what I'm going to have, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday by this time. But if I go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you need to take A, B, C, or D to be healed, what sense would it make me come here Wednesday and say, you know what, I went to the doctor on Tuesday and he told me this is what I need to be healed, and you know what I did? I got mad at him. That doesn't make any sense. But Naaman says, Naaman is angry. Why is Naaman angry? He went away saying, Behold, I thought he would surely come out to me and stand and call upon the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and cure the leprosy. Notice where Naaman's motivation is. Notice where his heart is. He is more concerned about the pomp and circumstance of his healing than actually being healed. He wants the big parade. He wants the confetti, right? He wants the Macy's Day Thanksgiving parade for him. And he's missed the fact that he's a leper. He's missed the fact that he is sick. So many people worry more about their circumstance and worry about the pomp and circumstance than they do of actually being healed. Oh, well, Elisha didn't come and talk to me personally. How dare him? Does he not understand that I'm a general in the Syrian army? And Elijah's pretty much response is, don't you understand that you're sick? Well, I'm the CEO of X company. I don't understand why AB Syrian. Why wouldn't God do it a different way? Don't you understand that you're sick? So, in light of the lack of common circumstance, he misses the fact that he's sick. Are not Abana and Pharpah, the rivers of Damascus, much better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? Wait. That nasty, dirty water in Israel, in the Jordan, that's just, you know what? That's just so dirty and nasty. Can't I just go over these rivers over here in Damascus, back in Syria, and dip in those and be clean? I mean, I'm scared I might get the disease in the Jordan River. Newsflash, you already have one. And isn't it interesting? Naaman is trying to bargain his way out of leprosy. Trying to bargain his way out of leprosy. And he says, well, can't we do it this way? And so here's what Naaman's saying. I know that there's God's way, but I want it my way, or it's the highway. And Elisha says, listen, man, you're sick. There is no your way. It's God's way or leprosy. And here's the point that Elisha makes. And here's the point that we get from Naaman. That truth is truth no matter what you or I think. No matter what you or I want. Truth is still the truth. When Naaman says, go dip 7 times in the Jordan, there's no out there. Notice what Elijah doesn't do either. Elijah doesn't acquiesce to Naaman's request because it suits Naaman. Because in suiting Naaman, he would disobey God. He didn't finagle around it. He didn't beat around the bush. He said, hey man, this is what you got to do. And too often, there are people who want to acquiesce the truth to suit and appease others. And when we do that, when we acquiesce and we meet the needs of people by disobeying the Word of God, we're doing nothing in all actuality. We're not helping that sick person. And so Elisha says this not because he's trying to be rude or not because he's trying to make it difficult on Naaman, but because what's his purpose? He wants Naaman to know God. He is a helper who is seeking after and being involved with a leper. And so notice what it says there. He turned and went away in rage. First he was angry, now he's rageful. But his servant came near to him and said, my father, it is a great word that the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Some translations talk about how the servant says, if God had asked you to go and do wonderful things and conquer a city, would you not do it? And here it says, has he not actually said you wash and be clean? See, the interesting thing about it is it's not as though God is being unreasonable with Naaman and his sickness. It's not as though God's asking Naaman to go and conquer a big city. But notice, depending on your translation, notice what the servant is appealing to. It's the same reason why Naaman doesn't want to go into the river, because of his pride. The same issue that Pharaoh had. The same issue that the Jews in Acts chapter 7 had with Stephen. The servant pretty much says, are you really making a big deal about going to dip in this river? Are you really making a big deal about what God has said? Have you forgotten, Naaman, that you are sick? And here's the difference between Pharaoh and Naaman. Pharaoh saw sign after sign after sign about who God was and what he could do. And he went back and forth. He said, okay, I've sinned. Go and ask God to relent, to cause this thing to relent. Okay, go. You can have your way. Go into the wilderness. Go. Nope, not going to go. I'm going to go get him. The difference between Naaman and Pharaoh is while both were hard-headed, Naaman eventually came to the senses. Is that Naaman understood that he didn't want to be sick. He understood that he didn't want leprosy for the rest of his life. And he also understood that there was one way to be cleared and to be healed of his sickness. And that's because there's a prophet in the land that told him. And a servant of Naaman that was willing to tell him the truth. Think about what the servant put on the line here. The servant put his life on the line so that his master might be clean. You think that servant was nervous about that conversation? You better believe he was, because guess what? If the ruler of the Syrian army, if the commander of the Syrian army doesn't like what I have to say, there is no go to jail, don't pass go, collect $200. It's don't live tomorrow. But he was willing to do it because he knew that his master wasn't clear-headed, and he knew that his master was sick, and he wanted him to be healed. There are people that you know, there are people that you will come in contact with, that there will be required of you and of me to have difficult conversations so that they might be healed. Because they don't know that they're sick. They've lost sight that they're sick. So even this servant sought out the leper, no matter the status or the relationship, to the leper. And note it says in verse 14, so he went down and he dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. And his flesh was restored, like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Notice the line of progression. It says, you shall be clean, you will be clean, you will be clean. He was clean. He came out of the Jordan River. The people looked at him and they said, what leprosy? Go back to the Syrian army, in which I'm sure there were people around there who go, man, did you see that commander Naaman? He's got leprosy. What leprosy? Reminds me of when Jesus healed the leper. If you would, heal me. And Jesus reached out with his hand with compassion in his heart and said, be clean. And so when Jesus touched that leper, and when Naaman touched that water for the 7th time, they got what God gave. And that's cleansing. That's healing. That's relief. That's peace. That's comfort. That's a new lease on life. And here's the thing. There are a lot of people in the world that need a new lease on life. And he has chosen earthen vessels, you and I, to be the Elishas of our time, to seek people where they are, to help them understand that they are sick, to heal them by telling them the gospel so that they might dip in the water and be clean. Who are we talking to? Who are we reaching out to? Are we dodging those conversations because somebody might be a little bit higher up in the food chain at work? Or because of a reputation that might have in the family? Are we willing to put our neck out on the line to the people around us, whether they go away upset or they might even be mad at us, so that they might know and they might be healed of their sickness? Are we sick? Do we need some healing in our life, in our relationships, in our families, and communities? If that's something that we need to make known, if that's something that we need to do, we've had 2 great examples the last few weeks. Let's follow through on that this evening.